Good morning to all my friends and family, and welcome to this episode of Jim's 5am Club. You can probably hear me. I've got a very croaky voice, but I'll do my best to get through this vlog because I really enjoy delivering a vlog every morning and engaging in Jim's 5am Club. It's the morning after. Just yesterday afternoon, I was over there at the Sofitel at 5:15, where the Matildas left as a team and headed to Homebush to take on England in the semi-final of the World Cup soccer competition. But unfortunately, last night wasn't going to be their night, and to be honest, they were outplayed by the English team, who seemed to not even get out of first gear. Anyway, what I'd like to do today is go on another walk and talk on this early morning, on this early Sydney winter's morning, which is quite mild and extremely beautiful, as you can see, with all the lights sparkling and the gentle balmy breeze blowing and singing its tune. Spring is just round the corner, and another winter is coming to an end. The book summary that I'm going to go through today is entitled Life in 5 Senses by an author, a well-known author known as Gretchen Rubin. And to kick off this book summary and to mull over it and to get us prepared, he says that the more we notice, the more we can enjoy. The more we notice, the more we can enjoy life. And it's a call to action to start to notice more things, to engage your 5 senses, and to find out ways of enhancing those senses so that you can enjoy and notice more things in your life on a daily basis. He says something quite profound where he mentions that with the prospect of losing something or someone, all of a sudden our senses seem to sharpen, and it's only with that prospect of losing or giving up something that we become more focused in our lives and more determined to fight on. So what he says here is that the problem, I guess, that most of us face is that we tend to take things for granted. We tend to take lots of things in our lives for granted. We take our health for granted. We take our family, friends, our jobs for granted. It gets to the point where we even take God for granted and no longer have a great desire to be connected to those around us and the world that we have for our enjoyment. So the author here says, in another call to action, that we really need to do a deep dive into our 5 senses. And this book is all about how to identify your senses and how to tune them, how to fine-tune them, how to express them, and how to get the most out of what you've got. So the first key point from this author is where he talks to us about sight. And he says that sight may be our most undervalued sense. Our ability to see things, our ability to focus on things, our ability to make the most of our sight. Because looking and seeing aren't the same thing. We can look at things, but we don't seem to be able to notice. We don't seem to be able to appreciate the things that are in our field of view. And what the author says is that we can work on that, we can improve that. And the way you can do that is by working your senses. And the way you work your visual sense is next time you go on a walk round the block, for example, at home, where you take the kids out and about, where you're driving, to do some visual homework. And the visual homework that this author talks about is, and you can make it up as you go, by the way, so it's not a fixed type of activity. You can make it up as you go. And the author says that you can try and spot 5 animals on your walk, or you can try and identify and see, circular objects whilst you're moving around. Just something to enable you to spot things. And it's not only about spotting things. The author also says that in our daily lives, what we're best asked to do is to try and spot more detail in familiar sights. So when you see a flower, when you see a home, or when you see one of those heritage homes, to try and spot and identify and talk about, be curious about the detail that you see, and to use that as a talking point to others, to make them also see more detail in their lives and to pay more attention. On the topic of attention, the author also welcomes us to pay more attention to colour, to see colour, and to try and figure out what colours do you like and why. What's your favourite colour? And your favourite colour can change depending on the time of day. Just like tonight or this morning, I can look out in the darkness and that blue just seems to stand out, and it becomes just a beautiful blue on that dark background. That contrast is absolutely sublime. The other thing that the author talks about here is that we can also look at the same thing more than once and to revisit it, just like I revisited before that blue light, that marina sign. Sometimes you can look at something, you can look away, and you can revisit it. You're always welcome to revisit pleasant sights. The other thing that the author talks about here, which is quite interesting, is what they have done is they changed their phone colour to a grayscale. And the reason why they changed their phone colour to a grayscale was to enable them to be able to put their phone down and not have their phone being the centre of their kaleidoscope, of their world. Put the phone down is what the author is welcoming us to do and calling us to do, and use your eyes to look around and connect with the environment around you and make the most of your senses, and in particular your eye senses. And as we said before, there's a difference between seeing and looking, and to spend more time seeing in your life. The second key point that the author talks about is he talks about our other sense, which is smell. And he said that most people, this is quite interesting actually, most people are bad at smelling. So what we're invited to do is to train our nose and become better at smelling. He also said something here that I wasn't quite aware of, and I've never really experienced. But when he says here that without smell, there is no taste. So if you pinch your nose and eat chocolate cake or eat something which is spicy or savoury, what the author tells us here is that you lose your sense of taste when you can't smell something. So something to think about, something to consider, and something to try and enhance in your life. And on the topic of smelling, the author reminds us here that odours are but fleeting. You can't save smells on your phone. You can save pictures, you can save the visuals, but there is a thing called smell, which is one of your senses, and it is but fleeting, as the author says. You can't save it, but what you can do is you can take a little bit more time to linger on smells, to educate your nose. So if you're smelling something that you enjoy, like a glass of wine, or the smell of a rose, or the sweet smell of a freesia, what you may want to do is to linger on that smell so that you can educate your nose. And what we can do more often in order to educate us and to help us savour the world around us is to take a deep breath over a coffee or a hot chocolate or a meal and learn to savour, learn to enjoy, learn to keep those smells for as long as you can, especially the ones that you enjoy. And by savouring certain smells and by lingering on certain fleeting odours, you can learn to identify and appreciate them. You can also shape the smells within your home and within your work environment, and it's called visual decor, or the smell decor. So what you can do is you can have the candles, the scents, and all of those things in your home. You can have flowers. You can shape the smell and make your home environment, your work environment, more pleasant. You don't have to go with the stale smells of an old environment, but you can shape it with the ability to pick and choose the smells that you enjoy. The author also talks here about being a little bit more creative and picking a signature scent. Those two gentlemen walking past me there, the man on the right is a man who enjoys his scents. He has lots of colognes, lots of expensive colognes, and he is a connoisseur of scents. And what the author in this book says is that we all need to have a signature scent because it's part of who you are. He said also something really interesting, something I wasn't aware of, that Andy Warhol would change his scent, would change his cologne every 6 months in order to use that scent as an anchor for a particular part of his life. And then he would be able to re-trigger that part of his life by just repurchasing or reusing that particular scent, which is pretty interesting indeed. So the author then also says, and I, like most of us, know this very, very well, that smell has the greatest impact on our past. It can take us back to our past. Smell is so transporting. One thing that I've noticed, and one thing that I enjoy about the Greek Orthodox Church, is that it takes advantage and leverages and uses the 5 senses. It uses sight, smell, feel, touch. I think I may have missed out on one there, but and hearing, of course, and hearing in the church service. And one thing I love about the church is when I go and the priest comes out with the censer and senses the congregation, and you can smell the livani, and that smell takes me back to my childhood, where my mother used to take the livani and use it in the home, and I find it very, very comforting and very, very beautiful. And as the author says, and I can attest to it, it is very transporting. Just like the smell of foods can take us back to our childhood, or the smell of a flower, or the smell of something in the air. The smell, the other day I was just walking and there was a smell of the rain. All of those things are very transforming, transporting as well, and very comforting. So let's make the best use of smell and our noses, and to be able to use these to our benefit. And the last point that the author talks about is the touch sense, because he says that touch is really important to us as humans, because it allows us to connect to ourselves and to connect to our environment. Humans are social creatures, and we need to be able to feel connected to the environment around us and to the people around us. And touch is one of those things that enables us to feel connected. And the author here reminds us that the skin is our biggest organ by far, and by having skin as our biggest organ also reminds us that touch and the skin can have a significant impact on us in terms of making us feel connected and making us feel good, because touch and our skin is a powerful social and emotional tool that we have available to us. In terms of touch, the author here reminds us that we can use props to help us stay calm and stay connected and stay grounded. Props such as having a warm cup of coffee or a warm cup of tea in our hands when we're in a meeting or talking to people. I've noticed that Prince Charles, who is now King Charles, whenever he walks in public and he may feel a little bit uncomfortable, will play with his cufflinks And I guess to him, those cufflinks are his security blanket, where he can touch those and feel a lot more comfortable in public than what he would have felt if he didn't have his little comfort blanket to get him grounded. You can also use a mic when you're giving a talk. All of these things are tools that we can use, things that we can leverage to make us better and more productive in our lives. The author also talks about something that I wasn't aware of again, and he says that swimming is a full skin experience. And given that our skin is our largest organ, and when you're fully immersed in water or in a bath or in a shower, it's actually giving you a full body experience. And once again, something that we can use to our benefit. The next point is an interesting one, and something that I haven't come across or thought about before. But there's a thing called embodied cognition, where you can use your whole body to think and be creative. And things that come to mind, and I used to do when I was younger, when I used to study for my exams at school, when I was doing my HSC, or when I was at uni, and I had to learn formulas, or I had to learn key points in a subject. What I would do is I'd read and look at my notes and walk at the same time, just like I'm doing now. I'm doing a walk and talk. That fellow there is running. He's got some earphones in, so he's listening to music or a vlog or something. So people are doing things in conjunction with other things, and it's helping them connect and do things in a relaxed sort of way. The next point that the author talks about is that it's important for all of us to keep a thing called a talisman. And a talisman is an object that we can use and we can connect with and we can go back to to make us feel comfortable. And the thing that comes to mind with myself is that a talisman for a Christian is a cross that they wear around their neck. A cross that is gifted to a newly baptized christened child by their godparent. And the child is supposed to wear that cross for their whole lives. The other thing that I have is I've got a cross that Will and Artie bought me when they were in Tinos a couple of years ago. So that's one of the talismans that I have. I also have a talisman in terms of a little prayer rope around my wrist, which I can also touch if ever I'm feeling uncomfortable, and other people have other things that they can use as a talisman. I know there are people who have crystals and other things, pieces of jewelry that help comfort them. So the use of a talisman is something quite interesting and useful to incorporate in our lives. So I guess that's it. So thank you very much for joining me on this episode of Jim's 5am Club. As you can see, as you can tell, my voice isn't at its best. I've almost lost my voice, to tell you the truth, but I'm on the mend. I'm feeling much better. I've had a couple of COVID tests. I've tested negative, and I'm in the countdown stage now. My daughter Artemis with her husband Will are expecting their first baby next Wednesday, and it's a baby that we all are looking forward to to welcoming into our families, God willing. My daughter Artemis, for those who are not aware, has had a number of challenges along the way with her pregnancies, and it got to the point where I myself was starting to lose hope. But to her credit and to Will's credit, they just kept on going. Their doctors kept on giving them the thumbs up and the go-ahead to keep on trying. And we were running out of options, to tell you the truth. But with the power of prayer, the power of lots of people's prayer and good hope, Artemis was able to fall pregnant after a number of, as I say, false starts, and keep this baby in her womb, a little girl with the name of Poppy Panayota. And as I said, we're looking forward to the 23rd of August for the day that she will come into our world. And I just hope that both mother, baby, father, and all the family and all the children of the world are healthy, happy, and looked after and protected by God. Yassas, take care, have a good day, and bad luck to the Matildas, but they did perform very well and made all Australia proud. Take care, Yassas, and we'll chat again soon. Bye for now.